you. Now, this next part of the day is one of my favorite parts of the entire day. And that's because if I do my job well, I get to become wallpaper, and you get to eavesdrop in on a conversation between three executives that have probably been where you are and are where you want to get to, if you will. And I've got this opportunity to just ask them a few questions, and we listen to their answers and have that chance to really learn and grow from people that are incredible thought leaders, but they're not necessarily keynote speakers that are on our stage today. So about to join me here on the panel, the partner chair franchise and distribution at Osler is Andraya Frith. We also have the Executive Vice President, Rapid Transit Operations from Metrolinx, Ellen Stassen, and as well, whoa, she's got some followers. And we've got the Vice President, Legal, Labor, and Employment from GFL, Colleen D Roa. Whoa, bring them on up. Come on up, team. I'm so excited to work out with all of you. And where are the people representing Osler? Come on, lawyers, make some more noise. There we go. That feels a little bit more like home. It's a shy group, yes. Well, they don't want to be charged for, being rowdy and all, but please join me. The mount is important, but the dismount is even more important from these high bar stools. And so, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us. And just as we get started today, maybe could you share with our audience a bit about who you are and your journey to get to where you are today?
Sure, thank you. This room looks just about as big as I thought it was going to look. So I'm a lawyer. I'm one of two lawyers on the panel. And I've been practicing for over 25 years. I've spent my entire career at Osler, which is a national law firm, has offices across Canada. We're one of the country's largest law firms. And I am the chair of the Franchise and Distribution Group, which is one of the smallest practice groups within that law firm. I advise franchisors, and franchisors are more than just your favorite coffee shop and donut shop or your favorite hamburger joint. Franchisors actually leverage that business model in over 300 industries. And so hotels, gas and convenience, retail, et cetera, travel, they all leverage the franchise model. So there's a lot of variety in what I do, and nothing is the same on any given day. I also co-lead our firm's retail practice, and I'm the co-founder of a legal technology platform that my team developed a number of years ago called Osler Dash, which automates the franchise disclosure and contracting process for franchisors, which was a bit of a passion project and a side hustle that we added to our day-to-day work. But it's one of the highlights of my career so far. I also am an elected member of our firm's partnership board, which is basically like the board of directors of a law firm. And I'm on my second term, and it's also just been an incredible opportunity to really learn even more about the business of our law firm and have a seat at that table and be part of the discussions around the strategy on the future of our firm. I'm also on the board of directors of the Canadian Franchise Association, and as part of that, I'm the incoming general counsel to the CFA, which is a volunteer position, so that'll be another side hustle. And I will be the first woman general counsel of that organization, and it's been around for 55 years. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
And as I said, I started my career at Osler. I was a summer student, participating in the summer student program at Osler, and then articled with the law firm, and that's about a year-long process, and was hired into what was then called the Franchise Intellectual Property, and I'm going to age myself, Computer Law Group, better known as Tech Law today. And so I spent the first 5 or 6 years of my practice really trying to live the mantra that I remember telling myself at the time, which was to keep as many doors open as possible for as long as possible before I had to decide where to specialize, whether to go in-house and become a lawyer inside counsel to a company, or whether I wanted to take a run and vie for partnership at Osler. And so that was definitely my mantra for the first 5 or 6 years, and I worked in all of those areas: franchise, IP, tech law, tried to learn as much as I could about all those different areas. You also learn a lot working with different partners. Everybody has a different style. So I soaked all of that up as much as I could. The variety of clients at that time as well, given all the different areas, was very diverse. At that same time, my husband and I started our family. So I actually had our first daughter when I was a first-year associate, and our second daughter when I was a third-year associate. So I realized when I was preparing for this that basically meant I was learning how to become a lawyer and a mother. Actually, I meant to say mother and lawyer in that order. I was learning how to become a mother and a lawyer at the same time, which sounds pretty crazy, although I don't remember it being that crazy. But I was busy, that's for sure. So in around the 5th or 6th year of your life as an associate at a law firm, you're expected to start to specialize and focus on a particular area. And a couple of things happened along the way that helped me make that decision. Some of them were outside of my control, and some of them were within my control, and some of them were just opportunities that arose. So the first thing that happened was the dot-com bust in 2000, 2001. And at that point, I knew I wanted to be a partner at Osler. And I'm kind of perceptive, and I thought, that doesn't seem like there's a future for me in the near term in tech law at the time, because that industry was not thriving. The other thing that happened was there was a change in the legislative environment, and there were some new laws introduced, privacy legislation and consumer protection laws, that really intrigued me, and I realized I had an opportunity to become an expert in those areas, even though I was only a 3rd or 4th year associate. So I could become just as expert as people who were more senior to me, who were also starting to learn those new laws. So that was a development, something that happened that wasn't in my control, but I took advantage of that opportunity. And the main thing that happened was that I realized I had a very unique opportunity, which was to work very closely with the senior partner who led that practice group, Frank Zaid, who was 25 years my senior and was the original franchise lawyer in Canada, and I'm not exaggerating. And so there was a very unique opportunity to work closely with him and others on our team to develop a succession plan, a transition plan, because he was nearing retirement and he was looking for somebody to catch that ball, so to speak. And even though at the time I was still very much interested in other areas of the law, intellectual property, retail law, privacy, I realized that was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. And so I decided to go for it, and we worked really closely together, and the management team at the time was supportive. And so in 2006, I was promoted to the partnership, and in 2007 became co-chair of that group with Frank. And then in 2012, became chair of the group. And we're now a bigger group. We practice beyond just franchising. We do a lot of distribution and retail law. And the good news is I love what I do. And so it was a great decision. And thank you for asking me that question. It was a very thought-provoking question. So.
And women get stuff done. Get stuff done. Yes, Andrea. Thank you. Ellen, that's a bit to top. Good luck, my friend, but welcome. Can you tell us a bit about your journey to get to where you are today at Metrolinx?
Thank you. So my journey started, let's say, over 30 years ago, and in transportation. So I was lucky enough to spend 18 years in the Canadian aviation industry in operations, and I'm very proud to say I'm still in operations all these years later. And so 18 years of being one of the first ramp managers in Pearson. That was probably the scariest moment to go out there. And then moving into a function of airport manager in Northern Ontario. And then the greatest opportunity came in 2006 when I got a phone call and they said, can you go to Vancouver and initiate a complete change management there? So off I went to Vancouver and spent 2 years there and left just after the Olympics. Very exciting time. And again, progression and learning who I was and learning what I could offer in each of the roles that I took on in the airline. And then in 2012, after almost 18 years in the aviation industry, I got an email. And it was such an interesting email. And I didn't quite understand it. And it was a reach out for a position here in Toronto and in municipal transportation. And I answered that email. And that was the biggest opportunity that I can look back at. And a lot of my examples this morning or this afternoon will be that from my time at the TTC. So there I joined the Toronto Transit Commission. And through those two roles, one in the aviation industry and then moving into the municipal transit organization, I learned with key leaders being my mentors that I could believe in myself and that I had a voice, and that allowed me to move on to new positions, have doors open to me, to be called upon to take on new projects. And on that call to take on new projects, in 2017, I got a phone call from one of my leaders at the Toronto Transit Commission, and she asked me, I'd like you to be the signatory from construction into operations and maintenance for the Toronto Yonge Subway Extension project. And it was a last-minute call to do that, and I remember saying to her, are you asking or are you telling me? And she kind of smiled and said, I'm telling you, I really need you there. And so off I went and quickly learned with our delivery partner how to commission subway stations, how to ensure that the public had a seamless journey from start to end and to meet a deadline. So it was such an exciting time that gave me, and then from there, so at the end of 2017, the Toronto Transit Commission opened the subway extension, and a little tidbit that I can share on the process was that we opened on a Sunday morning, December 17th, and on the Thursday before, we just commissioned and received authorization to run our escalators. So if you could imagine, there was one day I had to do a tour and it was 64,000 steps. But again, such an opportunity to learn the delivery component of construction, at the same time ensuring that our main mission of customer service and was delivered in that journey. And from there, other projects came through while I was at the Toronto Transit Commission, including changing, if you do take transit, and if you took it today, changing all those wonderful turnstiles into fare gates. That was part of my portfolio, and I was given that opportunity, such a great opportunity. And then in 2021, I received a phone call while walking my dogs, and it was a colleague within our organization and said, would you be interested in leaving the organization? And so-and-so is going to give you a call. So 10 minutes later, after I said yes, my phone rang again, and I had a really great coffee chat with a leader within Metrolinx. And then I moved on to Metrolinx. And my portfolio at Metrolinx is a new portfolio. It's, as my introduction said, rapid transit operations. So huge key success there as we move forward to open Eglinton Crosstown, Finch West LRT, all the new subway extensions that our organization are building, and my team are partnering with me to make sure what we build actually works, and we'll run it during the operation with our transit agency, Toronto Transit Commission, and such a key role to be able to partner with the agency that I worked for 8.5 years with, and to ensure that the partnership is strong and tight, and that we get to that opening day and we are successful. So such great opportunity through my role. There's a few things through there that led and taught me to have a voice. And I had a key leader in the aviation industry that taught me that I actually knew what I was doing, and I had a voice, and when I opened it and I talked and I supported the team, that and we embraced the objectives together that we achieved what we were set out to achieve. And then the other part of it, and I talked about it a couple minutes ago, is the commissioning and opening of the Toronto Yonge Spadina subway extension in 2017, and the learning from the construction component and how to bring that through. And then the other part of it too is learning how to build a team from 0 or 3. So in 2021, I was one of 3 people in a new department at Metrolinx. And I can proudly say by the end of this fiscal year, we will be over 70 in my little department, little team. So just so proud of them. A lot of them are here this morning, this afternoon. I keep saying this morning. A lot of them are here this afternoon. So proud that they are here and that we could share this time together. And so, thank you very much for asking me to be here.
We're honored to have you on the panel. Thank you. Thank you. There's that team. I think there's a couple of things that I heard in that, though, Ellen. The one thing I heard was always check your junk folder. Because that one email you said was all of a sudden, it was like moved you from the air to the rails. And then the other thing, I don't know if you picked up on it, but you said you got a call from a senior leader, she, as a pronoun. Yeah, somebody else said, yeah, I heard that too. And yeah, that it's great that women are pulling women up with them along the way, and we need much, much more of that throughout. So, Colleen, welcome, welcome, welcome. Tell us your journey to get here, not only to the platform today, but here today.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen D Roa. I'm Vice President of Legal and Labor and Employment for GFL Environmental. I'm from Chicago.
Yay, Chicago's in the house.
Very happy to be here. It's my first time at this event and honored to be asked to speak as well, so thank you. I actually majored in dance in college at the University of Iowa. I graduated not having any idea what to do with myself with my degree, and sort of worked a bunch of different jobs, worked really hard to pay bills and also explore a little bit what I actually wanted to do for my career. I went back to school. I went to law school. I thought, I probably am not going to be good at this, but I'm going to give it a whirl. And if I'm not good at it, my friend is in Spain right now, so I could probably go get a job like she did in Spain and do that, right? So I had my backup plan. Law school went very well, and I worked, again, very hard and went into practice in Chicago. Practiced for about 10 years in Chicago and Big Law, they call it. I worked for Ogletree Deakins and became a partner there in 2019. I also had my son in 2019, my first year of partnership, and the world changed in March 2020. I had my daughter in May of 2021. And in August of 2021, one of my clients that I serviced as their outside counsel said, I heard of this opportunity to go in-house, doing exactly what you're doing, but in-house for this great company that's really expanded in the US, and no one's in your role right now, so you'd be creating this role. And I was like, that sounds really cool. I have a 5-month-old. Yeah, and in the US, so I had 4 months of maternity leave. In the US, it's shorter. So I was just coming out of my second maternity leave with 2 little tiny kids, and I thought, this is great, but the time is not right. And she said, take the interview. So that's my first bit. Take the interview, have the conversation, and I did. I had the conversation, and I had about 4 more conversations, and I really was energized and excited and challenged by the opportunity to join GFL. So I joined in February 2022. And we have a great team. I work very closely in my role, particularly with the Human Resources group, and also our senior executive team, as well as our operations managers and employees. So I really enjoy that. I enjoy getting to know all the various aspects of the company, the very important, day-to-day work that we are doing in providing an essential service, and also, helping to manage helping to manage risk and provide strategic guidance in avoiding that risk. And so I get to work in Canada as well as in the United States, where we really have expanded very quickly. I'm sure you're mostly familiar, but in the US, not everyone is, with our green trucks. And so it's really been an exciting journey, and definitely not one that I expected to be on when I started my education. So thank you all for, just for this opportunity. It's wonderful.
Colleen, thank you. Yes. And I love what you've said, because so often in the leadership coaching work that I do, people are like, should I take the interview? Should I take the interview? It's like, take the interview. You have nothing to worry about until they offer you the job. When they offer you the job, you can still say no if it's not for you. You need to interview the company as much as they're interviewing you, but take the interview. I love that tip. Now I'm going to come to you first, Colleen, with this first question. As we focus on the importance of empowering women leaders, what qualities or skills do you believe are essential for leaders to develop to thrive and lead confidently in today's world of work?
Yeah, so I think that one thing that I've really kind of grown to accept is authenticity, that I'm going to be Colleen. And sure, there's professional Colleen, who's a bit more polished than I may be in my family life or in my personal life. But I'm going to be me, and I'm going to be true to my values and who I want to be as a human, first and foremost. And I think that helps me build stronger relationships, because I think people can read you when you're being an authentic human, and when you're speaking to them human to human. That may sound really strange to say, but when there's artificialness or sort of a performance to a communication, it's not going to garner the same trust or have the same persuasion that I think you can have when you are being, true to yourself. And I also think, as women leaders, that we have a sort of different authenticity, right? There's many different facets to what we do in life, professionally, personally, that we can bring to the table, that our opinions are going to be diverse among us. And when we can be true to that, we're adding value in that way. And I also think, I'm going to contradict myself, but a little bit of fake it till you make it goes a long way. So I think that sometimes, personally, I can feel like, wow, this is intimidating. There's like 5,000 people in here, it feels like. But, I think that just saying, I can do this, also can take you farther than you might imagine. And then I would say be open-minded. There's people who will disagree with me. Actually, as a lawyer, people disagree with me often. And people will say, but Colleen, we need you to say yes to this. We need legal approval. And I have to stay true to, well, I understand that this is your goal, but I can get you there a different way if you're willing to be open-minded to this. And also, I'm open-minded, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to what you need and what you want to happen, so let's work together instead of, I need your stamp of approval. So those are just a few of my thoughts on that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So much to build on from that as well, Colleen. One of my beliefs is that so long as I'm in my truth, it's none of my business what anyone else thinks of me. My authentic self is it. When we are fake or phony, then there's a challenge, right? Because now we're trying to fit in with what we believe other people want us to be, but we don't even know if that's true either. So thank you for that. Now, Andraya, I'm going to ask you to build on that a little bit if you would. Drawing on your own experiences, what strategies would you recommend for women looking to attain more prominent roles within their organizations?
So I have a few thoughts on this. I think first and foremost to be intentional about it and to look for those opportunities that may present themselves along your career path. And I mentioned the one that kind of took me on a slightly different path than I was intending originally with the franchise practice. But sometimes you can create your own opportunities and really look for ways to collaborate with other people in your organization. If you have an idea, if you think things could be improved, if you think there's a different way of doing things. And the examples in my career have been the retail initiative where I worked very closely with another partner at our firm in our real estate practice, where we recognized that we had this amazing experience advising retailers, especially US retailers coming into Canada, but we were still very reactive, and we really weren't known on the street, so to speak, as having a retail practice, even though we had a ton of experience and expertise to offer. And so he and I worked together very collaboratively and developed a team of partners and associates across the firm in all different practice areas: corporate, tax, real estate, labor and employment, privacy, consumer protection, that could really understand the retail model, and we packaged it up as a vertical industry sector and went to market with it, and we're now recognized as a leading retail practice in the country. And that's something that didn't exist, right? But if you pay attention, you can see that there might be a need for a different way of doing things, or you can get really creative at work and work with your team members to do something really fresh and interesting. And I just find those types of initiatives really invigorating. I've had a long career at Osler, but I was sharing with Colleen and Ellen that every 5 years or so, it feels like my career has shifted a little bit. It's changed, it's evolved, and that keeps it interesting. It keeps me engaged, and I still love what I do 30 years into it. The other thing I would say is, don't wait to be tapped on the shoulder. I think sometimes we think or assume that if we work hard and if you do really great work, that'll be noticed, and it should be, and that because of that great work, you'll be asked to get more involved in leadership positions within your organization. And while of course that happens sometimes, and hopefully it happens a lot, it doesn't always happen, and it's not the only way to become more of a leader within your organization. And so I think putting your hand up and indicating to your management team, to more senior people within your organization, that you're interested in getting more involved, that you show an interest in understanding the bigger picture of your organization, interrelationships within different divisions, within different departments. That's a way to get noticed, and you don't have to necessarily wait to be asked to join a committee and get more involved at more senior levels. And I actually think part of that is being vulnerable, which is a little bit of what we're talking about here today, and being prepared to take risks. Because when you put yourself out there and you share an idea with someone, especially if it's someone on the senior management team, there's risk associated with that. And so I have a story I was going to share with the group related to an email, but this was an email that I sent. And we had a new management team at the firm. It was 2017, and we had just appointed 2 new co-chairs and elected a new national managing partner. And about a month into their tenure, I decided I was going to write an email. And it was a short email, but it was about a bunch of ideas that had been kind of percolating. And they were things sort of at a higher level within the organization around associate retention, transition of practices when people are coming up for retirement, integration of new partners and associates when they join our firm laterally from another organization. So it was a short email, but it took me forever to draft. And I remember I even had a cheesy subject line that was ideas that end in ION, right? Succession, transition, retention, all that stuff. And I thought, oh God, this is really cheesy. And I was looking at the email for far too long, and I was trying to decide whether or not to send it. And then eventually I just closed my eyes and pressed send on the email, and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And within an hour, they all got back to me, and it was just, thank you for your engagement, thanks for the thoughts, really appreciate it. And that was about it. But then about a month later, I was asked to join the firm's compensation committee. And that's a really important committee at our firm. It's a committee that's struck every year. There are 10 partners on the committee that represent the different offices across the country, that represent the different practice groups. And we get together for a week. We're sort of sequestered, and we really understand the economic contributions of every office, every department, and every individual partner at the firm. So talk about a crash course on how to get to better understand your organization. And that opportunity that was presented to me, I have leveraged that opportunity over the last number of years in many different ways, but most importantly, it gave me insights into the firm's operations, the firm's business, and it allowed me to forge some really, really important and strong relationships with other partners at the firm, because you get to know each other really well in those kinds of environments where it's pretty intense, short period of time. And that really helped me build my internal network and look for opportunities for more organic mentorship and sponsorship within the firm. And we'll talk more about that later, time permitting. But I know that the reason I was asked to sit on that committee was because I had sent that email. I was informed of that after the fact. So it's just a good example of, I almost didn't send that email. So, and then I wouldn't have been asked to sit on the compensation committee in all likelihood. And that really allowed me to integrate myself in ways within the firm that I had not yet had an opportunity to do. So I encourage you to send those emails, but just, spell check before you do. But those are my thoughts on that topic.
Recognition for that, because there's two things that are, yes, go ahead, recognize. Please recognize the two things that I really heard. You mentioned vulnerability. I saw courage, not vulnerability. And the second thing that I would say is just a simple acronym that you can all jot down. If you want a piece of pie, jot it down, because what I heard you talking about, the P stands for your performance. And everyone can see your performance. That's easy to identify. That's the results you've achieved. The I stands for your image. Who are you? What do you stand for? What's your leadership brand? What's your leadership brand statement? But then the E is exposure. And you expose to all of those people, you felt exposed back to vulnerability.
Kind of like today.
Okay, fair enough. Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for sharing that example. Ellen, I'm going to come to you now. And I want to talk a little bit about how do you incorporate emotional intelligence and mental wellness into your leadership style to really foster a supportive and resilient team environment?
Thank you. I think this is a key component of being a really great leader and having a team that embraces their job and loves coming to work every day and delivers, and we deliver together. And so, but it's a journey to get there. It's a journey to understand emotional intelligence and how, as a leader, you need it to implement that, and it needs to be part of your everyday voice, the work you talk about, and how you support the team, and how you drive them to want to be successful and also be part of an amazing team that you're building. And it starts off with a self-awareness, and Colleen talked about it a moment ago in terms of being not leaving Ellen at the door when she leaves in the morning, bringing part of her, who that core person is, bringing that person to work, and being very aware of what the ask is, what the response is, and ensuring that I'm not a polished person. I'm pretty laid back that way, and we do joke, or I joke a little bit with my team, is that sometimes the E on the title is a little overrated, and while I've worked hard to get there, it's just ensuring that I know my team and know each of the member and what the skill and strength they bring to the team. So that's self-awareness, and along that, embracing that self-awareness, embracing who you are, and being open to learning what areas you need to improve. And on that part too, I would recommend, if your organization has the 360 assessment, and you can learn from your peers on really who you are, because I've done that. And I remember opening the results of that 360 assessment, and I'll be very honest, I think I cried for about 2 hours. It devastated me. I didn't realize that there was parts of me in the workplace that I didn't like, but I love the results after crying for a couple hours, but I love the results, and it allowed me to self-manage my conversations with the team when they brought items to me that were of concern or challenge, or when they're holding me accountable because I don't know everything in what we have to deliver in operations, that I didn't turn the conversation to be right back about me. And so that self-awareness, that self-management, that conversation, that opening ear, the collaboration, the empathy, having empathy, and the other part of it too, and it's a huge part, is the relationship management. Understanding what your team do. And I have a really, really strong personal rule within my calendar, within my understanding what we are delivering and what we are doing every day, is that every new employee that joins the team, whether they are new to Metrolinx or new to TTC or wherever I was, or have transferred to our team, I have a coffee chat with them. And I did learn quickly that apparently it was a scary thing, but learning how I'm not scary, and learning how I am that listening ear and that collaborative, and trusting them, building that trust, saying, I trust you, you were hired, you bring a skill and to the team for a reason, you're here for a really amazing reason. And all those combined link into the mental wellness of a team, the willingness to support each other when that pivot call happens and you have to scramble or you feel like you're scrambling, and also the mental wellness of everyday life. Because my number one encouragement is, please come to work as you. You know, and we've all been through many things in our lives and in our work lives and in our personal lives that equip us and make us a better person. And with that focus, it's really helped drive me and encourage me that I'm with a team. It's a two-way accountability. I trust them, and we're gonna do what we've been asked to do.
Well done, Ellen. Well done. Now, you had an incredible opportunity of a 360-degree assessment, right? So your boss answers, your peers answers, your direct reports answers. Not everyone in this room would have that opportunity. There's a great book by Dr. Heidi Grant Halverson. She's now Dr. Heidi Grant. She got rid of her Halverson. I think she's much happier. And in her book, Nobody Understands You and What to Do About It, she challenges us to be really self-aware. What's your leadership brand statement, if you will? But then she also says, go out to people that you know quite well and ask them, would you do me a favor? Would you just send me an email, and how do you experience me in 3 adjectives? And really be prepared. You may cry for 2 hours. You may celebrate. But then also to ask people that don't know you very well at all, you've just met me. How would you describe me in 3 adjectives? And get that answer from them so you can be a little bit more self-aware of how you come across. You're not so frightening to other people at all. But our time has gone by so quickly. So Colleen, I'm going to start with you and just work down the line. Looking out of this audience, looking at this sea of women and allies of women that are in this room, as you look to the future, what gives you hope? In a word.
Oh, one word.
One word, yeah. Yeah, sadly our time is up. So in a word.
One word, belonging.
Belonging, thank you. Ellen.
Trust.
Trust.
Change.
Change. That's your opportunity to eavesdrop on an executive conversation. Toronto, what do you think? Thank you, thank you, thank you, all of you. Thanks so much. Cheers.